Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon. Hello and welcome to this episode. Today I am chatting with Kelly from Poppin Cleveland, and we are talking about her amazing customer service, working with other balloon artists in the area, competition, and also her unique business structure. So on Kelly's team, there is a COO, there's a creative director, and then a lot of other employees behind the scenes. And she has essentially built Poppin Cleveland to run without her, which is really important because she's actually moving back to Texas. So this is the first interview I've ever done where someone is essentially going to have, multiple locations where they're working, across the country to keep a business going. So I really appreciated Kelly's transparency about her next steps and how they have set up a plan to keep things going, without her. But in the chance that, things don't go well, I like that she puts her quality of life first, and she has a plan for that as well. So it was just really interesting hearing from someone that, in my opinion, has a more corporate structure to their balloon business. I feel like a lot of us are kind of a bit more unstructured. So this was just a really interesting interview. And as soon as we wrapped this interview, we set a date for a follow-up interview. So I will be catching up with Kelly in 3 months to hear how she's doing in Texas, how her business is running without her in Cleveland, and just get all of the juicy insights about what in the world that looks like when you have multiple locations of your business, because I can't even imagine. So I am so excited to hear from her in the future. And before we get into the interview, I just wanted to take a second to thank everyone who has joined the book club. So that is our $3 or $5 a month pledge group. That is the easiest way to support this podcast. And it has just been such a joy reading through these business and self-development books. I can't believe that there are over 100 of you in that group now. And if you're not sure what the book club is, basically it is 4 bonus episodes a month where I am guiding you through a different self-development or business book each month. It's like Audible for your balloon business. But it has been so fun, and I hope that everyone who is involved has found it as enjoyable and helpful. And just a reminder, if you join now or you joined a month ago, all of the episodes are available to you. So that entire backlog is waiting for you in our private Patreon group. So if you are interested in joining, that link is in the show notes, and I would love for you to join us. But thank you for those of you who have been supporters from the beginning. It really means a lot. All right, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors and then get into this interview with Kelly. If you haven't checked out Having a Party Wholesale by now, what are you waiting for? They have all of the brands that we know and love as balloon professionals, and they even offer free shipping on orders over $200. So the next time you need balloons, make sure to check them out. You can click the link in the show notes and tell them that the Bright Balloon Podcast sent you. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly from Poppin Cleveland. I'm so excited to have you on. We've been chatting for a while about setting up an interview, so it's finally here. I'm so excited.
Yay. Oh, I'm so thankful, Sarah, for the opportunity just to share the knowledge that I've learned over the past couple years, and it's truly an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about customer service and what, we're going to learn from you. And before we jump into the specifics, though, let's just chat about your business. Like, give us an idea of the scale, kind of what you're known for, how many employees, all of that stuff.
Sure. So my name's Kelly Simpson. I'm actually a Texas native here in Ohio right now. I'm moving actually back to Texas in 10 days. Which is wild. I know. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that at all.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have to talk about that too.
Yes, we've got to chat about that. But here in Cleveland, Ohio, we've got about 8 to 10 people that work from us. throughout the year, really kind of depending on the time of year. Summer, we've got a lot of our team that comes in that is actually in college, so that's super helpful to have some more hands tying balloons and working, if you will. But I started Poppin Cleveland in, let's see, it was July 2019 and went full time in October 2019. So, really, about a year or so before COVID really hit. So, yeah. Did I
What
miss
were you
anything?
doing before? Did you leave a different full-time job, or what was
Yes.
your transition into balloons?
So I actually went to school for marketing, and I was working in the NFL for a while. Being a Texan, I love football. Not crazy about the NFL. I'm really more attracted to high school football and college football, but I feel like my dream was always like, I really want to work for an NFL team. And I did that. And I found myself just kind of in this lull. I just didn't feel very fulfilled. It's a really male dominated profession, which is fine, but it can just be really difficult to continue to move up in that, I guess, kind of that arena, if you will. So
Sure.
I actually made the transition to Chick-fil-A. I started working at Chick-fil-A doing marketing, which was super helpful because although I'd already had a great background in service, it really kind of catapulted me into this other level of service that I really kind of just got to learn and morph into my business now, which has been super helpful.
Yeah, amazing. So, when we were chatting about like what your secret sauce was and what you wanted to chat about, you immediately said customer service, which I love because I feel like most people are like, "Oh, I'm really good at this kind of balloon decor," or like I'm super skilled at twisting, and I feel like it does not matter. Nothing matters more than your customer service because like without that piece, you don't have a business. It doesn't matter how good you are at balloons. Like nothing else matters if your customer service piece
Is
is
lacking.
lacking.
Yeah, totally. And that's something that I've really tried to instill in our team. I think that we all run into those crazy situations where you get a client who's just super difficult to work with. And I really try to embrace those moments because, if anything, we're going to be able to take what we've learned from this experience and grow from it and learn from it. So I encourage the people, make mistakes. I've got a lot of girls that I chat with and kind of mentor, through different scenarios because service is something that is so near and dear to my heart. So not only with like the client relations, I guess you could say, but also with like giving back. It can kind of go
Mm,
hand in hand. So having any opportunity to give back in the community and having an opportunity to take something that you've done or you messed up, or maybe you didn't even mess up and you're just working with someone who's super difficult,
yeah.
really taking that and running with it and trying to learn and grow from it, I think is just really impactful.
Yeah. So, okay, to start in 2019 and grow to a staff of 8, um, that's big. Like I have a staff of 0. So that's a quick growth spurt there. So what do you attribute that to, or what did that growth kind of look like?
Sure. So Sammy, she's our COO. So she's our chief of operations, and she kind of runs everything behind the scenes. But it's funny, she reached out to us right when we started to do balloons for her wedding, actually. And she was looking for a transition herself. And so she started installing with me. COVID happened, and we were like in the thick of it. It was
Hmm.
like, we were taking any job we could because we didn't know what was going to happen, doing the contactless deliveries, all of the above. And her and I chatted, and really what her passion is the client, I guess, taking the admin stuff, if you will. So really
Hmm.
breaking down our schedule, taking the orders, chatting back and forth with clients, the stuff that like I was just so overwhelmed with and that I just didn't really have time to do anymore. So she really stepped in and has kind of, I feel like she schedules my life, honestly. And like, it's so helpful because not only can I trust her to, handle a situation just as I would, I think that even when I move to Texas, everything is going to still be running here. And it's just, I can sleep so soundly at night having people here that I know that I can trust and know that they're going to continue the legacy that we've really wanted to establish here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Okay,
I
so
know there's a
you
lot.
Well, I feel like you're a bit untraditional because I feel like most people start as kind of like a side hustle and then they get really busy and then they bring on like, I'm probably like baseline. Like I'm still doing everything. I brought in a bookkeeper and someone to clean my shop. I would
Sure.
say like the next level, people start hiring people to inflate for them, maybe run deliveries, install. And then eventually maybe someone brings on someone to like really do all of the sales or
Mhm.
the admin stuff, if you will. But here you are, you're like, oh, we have a COO, and you have like, where do you fit in that? Because I don't feel like that's the natural progression 3 years into a business or 4 years.
Totally. Yeah, it is very untraditional. I think that what I really always wanted to focus on was the creativity of doing installs and really being the face of my business. And I think
So
that sometimes,
do
yes,
you still do the installs
I
primarily?
do. I do.
Oh,
And
see,
that's
that's
what I love to do.
interesting.
That's what I love to do. But we have a creative director. Her name is Libby. She's just been, she started with COVID as well. And she's just been absolutely amazing. She's really my right hand man, I guess you could say. But we also had now three other businesses we just sold in our preparation for moving. And so my fiance, like, we were all just trying to work together to build multiple businesses at once because we had a yard business called Card My Yard.
Okay.
Right before we started Poppin, and of course during COVID, that catapulted to another, like, a level of insanity. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like if I didn't get help, like, I wasn't sleeping, like, it was just too much and the quality of life was just depleted. So I think that early on I had to let the reins go on certain things and know that, hey, if I don't want this to fail, I'm really going to have to trust in some other people to be able to help me. And the girls that have been with us now have been with, we've got girls coming back for their third summer with us, which is amazing. Um, and it's just, I don't know how it all happens, Sarah. I really don't.
I Well,
I
and the
feel
thing that
like
I
it's
love too is
wild.
I think most people, if they want to grow, they want to get to the point where they're not touching balloons. And I
Mhm.
love that you're the opposite because that's how I feel. I'm like, no, I started a balloon company so I could be creative and do stuff with balloons. Like that's
Exactly.
going to be the last thing to go. Like I
Yeah,
never want to turn that over.
same.
Um, but wow, that's so impressive. So essentially, you've built this business now that would could run without you and is going to have to. Like, what is this whole
Well,
Texas move? What's happening?
okay, so I know I've kind of bounced all over the place. So that's my ADHD.
No, that's why we're
It
creative.
is.
It works.
Literally, it's like, I think it goes hand in hand with being a creative for sure.
Mhm.
But basically, so I'm from Texas originally. Jeff, my fiance, is from here. We met, did the back and forth thing for over a year, and I moved here while he was finishing school. We started our business, and this just kind of took off. And it was kind of got to the point where it was like we always knew we wanted to go back to Texas or back south somewhere. But it was like, now that we've got these businesses, how do we even do that? And it was one
Mhm.
of those things that was just so scary to even think about because we're like, what are we going to do? We don't want to shut down our business. Like, we have amazing clients, we've got an amazing team, and what is this for if it's just gonna, if we're just gonna dissolve it? And I didn't want to
Yeah.
sell it. That's not what I wanted to do. That's not where my heart is. So actually, one of my best friends lives in College Station, Texas, which is where Texas A&M is. She introduced me to a friend of hers that was doing balloons, and we've just kind of been in touch over the years. And she started her business, Pop Party Co., probably around the same time I did. And she started with one of her friends, and her friend ended up having to move and relocate for her husband's job. So Ashley is her name. She was end up being kind of like stuck with this business that was growing and growing and growing. And she's a single mom. She's got two young ones, and she's like, I can't do this on my own. And so
Okay.
she just always was like, if y'all move here, always was just kind of dropping hints, and I was dropping hints to her, like, how can we make this happen? So we kind of took a leap, and we've taken Pop Party Co. and renamed it, kind of rebranded it into Pop in Texas.
Okay.
And so her and I will run that together, and then Pop in Cleveland will stay here and kind of operate as usual.
That's
So
amazing.
we're super thankful and grateful. I mean, I think it's definitely going to be a learning process to see what works, what doesn't work, and we'll adjust as needed. But fingers crossed, everything will just keep working like a well-oiled machine. So
Yeah, that's really interesting that you found that friendship and partner now almost like in a second location for you and backup for her, and like let's talk about that. Let's talk about
yeah,
working with other balloon vendors because I
yeah,
feel like in any other situation that could be very threatening. Like I'm moving into your town and I also do balloons and I'm going to put you out of
mhm,
business. Like, and I feel like there are some companies that do that. And it's,
yeah,
I would have a hard
totally.
time doing that. But what
This is one
what's
of
your
my
advice about
favorite.
working?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things because I think that everybody is fearful of competition per se.
Hmm.
I mean, I think you see of another balloon business and you don't see it as an opportunity for a friendship. You see it as an opportunity to be fearful of what could happen,
Hmm.
what business they could take, or what they can do to you. And my mentality has really always been, and I'm a paranoid person, I feel like too, like, so I've really tried to channel that energy and not be fearful, but be welcoming and be encouraging and see it as an opportunity to build relationships with other balloon vendors in your area. Not only can you work together, if you need something, say there's a product that you really need, or you're super sick and you can't go do this install, or whatever the reason could be, why cut off any opportunity to have a long lasting relationship with somebody that's in your realm and that also shares the love of the same craft you do?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, there's situations where it doesn't work. I think that sometimes it has to be a give and take. It's got to be, the other person wanting to, have a relationship with you as well. And I think that just killing each other with kindness and really trying to be an outlet, to vent, even, like, oh my gosh, I had a crazy weekend with balloons. How was your weekend? Just any kind of relationship opportunity I feel like that you can have to be with like-minded people that love the same thing you do, I think is a remarkable opportunity. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And
so,
how, like, what are practical steps to actually do that? Because I
sure.
feel like a lot of those friendships are made kind of maybe on Instagram first and then they
Yeah,
transition to real life. But like,
exactly.
I definitely have other people in my area that like I don't get that vibe from, or like, they've gone on to my page and followed all of the people that
And it's happened to us too.
follow me or
Yeah.
and it's just like, what are kind of your do's and don'ts of making buddies in the
That's
industry?
frustrating. I mean, there's been companies that have gone through like our whole list of like followers, and they're like,
Hmm.
I've gotten messages from like some of my friends back home, and they're like, who is this balloon company in Ohio that just followed me? And I go see that they are following now all my really close friends
Everyone, all,
in
yeah.
Texas, and it's like, okay, so clearly they just went through and followed and followed and followed anybody in our list, which, hey, okay, that's fine. I know people are trying to like round up business, and that's great, but in my mind, what I really try to do is reach out and say, hey, I saw that you're doing balloons. I just wanted to welcome you to the area. If you ever need anything, please let us know. We're always here. Let's grab coffee or lunch sometime, whatever it could
Mhm.
be, however you would, chat with a friend, a normal friend, just kind of start to communicate. And this isn't for everyone either, Sarah. Like some people are like, just keep it separate, and that's totally fine. But if you're anything like me, where it's like the more the merrier, there's enough business to go around. And I can't tell you how many people we've been able to refer to other businesses too. Like, hey, we are booked this weekend. We would love to send this person your way. And I think your clients really appreciate that too, because
Yes,
ultimately,
it's so
it's
much
not
more
their
effective.
fault that you don't have availability or that you're
Yeah.
not going to be in town. I think that it's more of a great relationship factor with your client when you're willing to send them to somebody else who could be considered competition. And,
Yeah.
so
No, yeah, I think it's such a good reflection versus just being like, "Sorry, I can't help you. Bye."
exactly.
Like, that's not a great email to
Yeah.
send either.
Like, I
It's
don't
much
know anybody in the
friendlier.
area. It's like, come on. Yes, you do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
referring one person, or even a handful of people, I think if anything, will come back to you 10 times in my eyes. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's okay. If you refer someone and they continue to go to that person, that's great for them. Like, that is awesome. Like, we want to support other businesses and them to get just as much business as we have, and vice versa.
Well,
So,
and that's, the more good balloon art that's out there, the more cool requests you're going to get. Like, if everyone's just doing crappy balloons, people aren't going to see it as like, oh, this is something that I am going to spend $3,000 on at my next event, and
Exactly.
maybe you're the company that I'm going to go with. Like, the more good stuff that people see, and I think Pinterest is like, I credit Pinterest with like making balloons cool again. Like,
Yeah.
seeing those installs and getting a feel for what like organic balloons look like, I feel like it put it back on people's radar. And that
Yeah.
wasn't me. I mean, that was other
Yeah.
companies doing that
Like
all
the
over the world.
possibilities. Yes.
Hmm.
Totally. No,
Absolutely.
I agree. And I've made so many friends through this practice. So many friends through just reaching out and saying, I'd love to get together, or how was your week? Whatever it could be. And that to me is so fulfilling, to know
Hmm.
that I've got people that I can count on if I've got, something low in stock that I really need that I can't find or
Yeah,
whatever it may
absolutely.
be.
Or even like for people like me that don't have a staff, like I depend on other balloon people to come and help me with big installs. Like, it's not very
Exactly.
frequent, but like I'm not just going to pay my friends who have no idea what they're doing minimum wage to come install. I much rather hire other balloon people who have the skill to actually pull
And the
something off. Then you
knowledge.
can just kind of be like, "Hey, go take care of that section because like I, I got to
I
do
don't
this
know what,
over
yeah,
here."
I'm at a loss. Yes, totally. Totally.
Absolutely. Cool.
Um, so yeah, that's
Very
funny.
cool. Well, man, you threw me for a loop with the whole Texas thing. I was not
I
prepared
know.
for
I'm
that.
sorry. I probably should have mentioned that.
No, are you
I
so
feel like,
excited?
do what?
I said, are you so excited, or are you kind of, do you
It's
feel like you're
actually
leaving your baby?
bittersweet. It's
Yeah.
bittersweet. Like I'm really sad, but really excited because this has been like my ultimate goal was to be able to go back home and be back in Texas and be in the same state as my family. But I'm so close with the girls that work for us. It's hard thinking of like not being with them every day. We're a
Yeah.
family and we've built something incredible and I love our clients too. I've become such good friends with so many of them and um
Right.
but everyone's been super supportive and they're all like, excited that the opportunity has finally presented itself to be able to go back home.
Absolutely. Well, do you think that knowing you eventually wanted to get back to Texas pushed you to put some of those more, I guess, corporate titles in place? Like, if I'm going to do this, I really need to do this. I can't just leave my business in like part-time
Yeah. I think
months.
that we also I was always very upfront with the girls that they knew that eventually we were going to be going back. So I would have loved to be able to kind of establish that in their minds that this is something that can be long term. And the girls that have those titles are on salary with us now, which is really awesome. I think it's super important for the people that you do have working for you full time to feel valued, especially coming from the corporate world. As a past employee, what makes you feel valued? A title, knowing that I've got a salary or benefits or workers' comp, whatever that could be. So I think Jeff and I saw that opportunity and said, we don't want to lose these girls. They're amazing. And we are so thankful that they've been here at some of the most pivotal times of our business and its growth. We want them to be able to stay. And whether that means that they do balloons forever or not, we'll continue to value them. And if it doesn't work out and, Poppin Cleveland is no more, then that's okay. We know that we've tried and that we've set a great plan in place. Not that I think that that will happen, but
Mhm.
I think that we wanted to try to establish some real roots here, and that trickles down to our team for sure.
Can I be a little nosy? Because, and if any of this is too much, let me
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But I think for me and for the average person listening, the idea of having someone full time on salary is like insurmountable. Like, I
yeah.
don't even know how you get there. How do you know the income is coming? How do you even do that? You mentioned benefits. Like, how do you get to that level? Like, do you
Mhm.
have to be doing $1 million in sales a year? Like, how do you
Mhm.
get there?
So I think what we were really able to do, Sarah, is for whenever we leave, say whenever we go to Texas, we knew what we wanted to still be profiting from our business here, and how we could really delegate those costs. So, like I said, being a paranoid person, once I really sat down with like our accountant and our business attorney, the guy who kind of wrote up like our non-competes and that sort of thing, these kind of questions arise, and I think it's coming from working in the corporate America. what if someone falls off a ladder and gets hurt? Yes, you've got insurance, but if they're working for you, 40 hours a week or whatever it could be, they're considered a full-time employee. They're not considered somebody as an independent contractor anymore after a
Right.
certain basis of income. So my attorney, or our business attorney that has been super helpful, just said you should probably look into workers' comp at this point. And I think it helps us sleep easier at night to know, if something were to even happen to me, that I would be covered under that, because I think it's just these kind of things that you don't necessarily think about.
Right.
But whenever you start to grow your business, it's like, okay, if you think of even like, say any kind of franchise these are requirements. You need to have workers' comp. It's the law at a certain point. So my idea was like, I want to get these kind of things nailed down so then we can see what these expenses are. So then we know how much money we're able to delegate to our team.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that every month that we might not make the amount of money and profit that we want to from Poppin Cleveland? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I think that to us, it's more important, even if we're only making a small portion of money from this because it's a slower month, I'm okay with that if it means that I'm able to still have my team and still have the legacy that we have been, developing here.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So when you're in Texas, you'll essentially be to the point where you're just getting like an distribution, right? So you could essentially have employees who are making more than you, and I mean that'd be great, but like, how does that even work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that navigating it will be a learning process for sure. But whenever we've got multiple streams of income, that's really always been something that we desired. So not just having one gig and having
Mm-hmm.
a multiple stream of income household is something that we always wanted. So, say in 10 years, Poppin Cleveland is thriving still, but we've got, our team is depleted. And, if that means that that's a time for us to sell it, we'll sell it. That's totally fine. But there is the potential for that to happen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think that that will, but if it does, it's totally okay.
Yeah.
It's totally okay. So I think that the months really vary, income wise. I think that right now we've just moved into a new studio. We had a ton of work done to our new studio. And so that's just, obviously we still have this big profit, but now a lot of it is being poured back into the business.
Yeah.
And so, I think that it's just kind of a give and take. I think that it's big risk, high reward. And that's kind of been our mentality. It's like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think we're super confident in it working. Our plan is really kind of rock solid. We're eventually going to be able to have where people can walk in and pick up helium bundles or pick up grab and goes and have a balloon bar, if you will. We're going to be launching DIY kits really
Yeah,
soon.
let's talk about those because that's like I
Yeah,
love that you mentioned the multiple revenue streams because that's totally how my brain works too. It's like when your eggs aren't all in one basket, there's more security built in because if
yeah,
something falls through, you have, these other streams of income. And I think that's true even within your balloon business. So talk about these
totally.
DIY kits because I am
Yeah.
really interested.
So I think that we've had so many clients reach out to us that are traveling or whatever it might be that really want to take our balloons. And they're like, I'm going on a flight. Do you like, what can you give me to take to do myself? And so I think we just really saw an opportunity for a demand for our clients, really. And then also, a lot of people in the area or in the surrounding states have reached out and asked, I know you couldn't come here to do balloons, but could you make me a balloon kit? So we just kind of saw an opportunity, and there's a lot of irons in the fire right now with it, with like a subscription service in the works for holidays and that sort of thing. So they'll be available hopefully on our website in the next 4 to 6 months, give or take. Right now, we're working on all of our packaging, which is so cute.
Yeah, well, that's so fun. I love packaging
Yes.
stuff.
Oh, I know. It's so fun. So, really, I think that the scale will be anything from like a birthday, a small birthday garland where people can, pick custom colors if they want. If it's a returning client, they have the option to choose if they want a hand pump or an automatic pump, things that they can add on.
Very
That's
cool.
really something that we have been super passionate and excited to launch. So,
Hey friends, I know you've heard about ballooncoach.com, but I wanted to take a second to talk about Balloon Boss Summit, which is the in-person event that happens every year in Florida in November. I've been for the past couple of years, and I'll be returning again this year as an instructor. It's one of my favorite events because it gives me time and space to consider my business goals and network and learn from other balloon professionals all around the country. So check it out in the show notes where you're listening because there are only a few spots left. Well, and that kind of brings us full circle to where we started about your customer service, like
Yes.
listening to your customers, figuring out what they want, kind of growing into that niche, if you
Yeah.
will. Um,
Totally.
what other like takeaways can you give us if we are trying to up our customer service game?
Sure. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to go about this because I think that you can see customer service in one light of like kind of putting out a fire. If something has gone horribly wrong, how do I fix this? Or, really making your client feel valued by reaching out to them, following up, whatever that could be. I think that although it's like kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, I think that they're both so important. And that's when help can really be beneficial. Having someone help following up with clients if that's something that you're able to do, or just even simply shooting people a text following up. I think that kind of our expertise is putting out the fires, honestly, and kind of navigating really difficult situations, and like I said, taking those and really learning from them. So, like, I had a girl reach out to me who's one of my friends that I've kind of helped answer questions and that sort of thing. And she texted me the other day and she's like, Kelly, can you please call me? I've had a nightmare situation. I don't know what to do. So I call her and she's done these balloons for a bride and they're absolutely beautiful. She sent me pictures. Well, the bride wanted blush balloons, but she didn't specify that she wanted like a pink blush. For a balloon
Mm,
artist, blush is Qualatex blush or Tough Tex blush, which is more of a peachy tone.
nude, yeah.
So the bride gets to the wedding and is mortified because these are not the balloons she wanted. And I'm sitting here thinking, this bride is literally texting you on her wedding day. Like, what is wrong
Right.
here?
Exactly.
And this friend of mine, she was so upset. And, I just really kind of guided her through what I would do in this situation. And, I think communication is key. A lot of the times, even though it's not your fault, people just want to be heard and want you to listen. And sometimes they want you to just take the blame for it, even if it really is not something that you need to take the blame for. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like it's a lot easier to just say, hey, this was a total miscommunication. Like, we're going to take this and learn from it in the future and see how we can, kind of mold this into more of a business practice, if you will. So every time we get an order that might have a questionable color, let's send a picture of it to the client to make sure
Yeah.
this is something that doesn't happen again. And she ended up, sending her back a message and, obviously being super apologetic. I'm sorry, this was such a big miscommunication. This is your special day. I would never want to, alter anything, as far as how the day ends, I guess you could say. And the bride ended up she refunded her a small amount. And the bride ended up being super apologetic and felt horrible that like sometimes I feel like it just flips around, it flips
Right.
back. And then I think people really kind of take a moment to say, okay, maybe I am being irrational and super picky. And so if you think about it, we're dealing with people in some of the most happiest times of their life or the saddest times of their life, or whatever it might be. They're under a lot of stress and sometimes they just
Right.
want to take it out on somebody. And does it suck and is it not okay to be the bearer of like all of that animosity? No, but I think sometimes being able to provide exceptional customer service keeps those people coming back, even if it's not something that you've done. If
Yeah, it
you
is
know
a lot of pressure, and I like that you put that. It's like, yes, we do get the privilege of helping people celebrate the best days of their lives, but like with that comes a lot of pressure, and I feel like
1000%.
we are seeing people not their normal selves. A lot of times they're like really happy, but sometimes
Well,
especially
they're dealing
actually
with 20 different vendors. It could.
yeah, yeah.
So
For me,
it's just.
it's never been the bride, it's always been the mother of the bride. I feel like
Yes,
mom villas
it
are like
is.
I've been
Yes.
very lucky. I have great wedding luck. Um, but yeah, it's always the moms lately. I feel like the brides that want balloons are usually pretty cool, but yeah,
Mhm.
blush especially is one of those
It
tricky
is.
colors.
Yeah, I mean, she was like, this color looks, she was just saying some really nasty things. And,
Oh,
in that moment, I felt so bad for my friend because I'm like, she doesn't deserve this. And, she was super appreciative that she could vent to somebody and like figure out, okay, how would you navigate this? And sometimes,
right.
you know, what might work for us as far as a customer service perspective might not be what works for anybody else. But I think if
Hmm.
anything, one thing that we've found is, just continuing to be there and serve others and like really help figure out what went wrong, and sometimes taking the blame for it even when it's really not your fault has been super helpful for us, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple trends that like I'm hearing through your interview, and it's almost like instead of shying away or avoiding fear, it seems like your philosophy in a lot of things are like run towards it. So like instead of avoiding the crazy customer, like really lean into it and figure out
Embrace
like
it.
how you can get ahead of it. Or same thing you said with your like kind of setting up your business, and instead of being afraid to grow because of the things that might come with it, it's like let's sit down with professionals now and know what's coming in terms of workman's comp or salary or all those issues.
Mhm.
I feel like people are afraid of growth, either in size or in responsibility or even
Yeah,
money. Like I know people that are afraid to make more money because they don't want to have to pay more taxes, which
yeah.
is crazy, but it's also unknown. Like if you
No,
go
it
from
is.
making no money to making $100,000 in sales, the thought of potentially doing that wrong is scary, you know?
It is scary. Well, and I think that that's why too, I just wanted to make sure we did everything right.
Yeah.
So, not necessarily saying that everyone needs to run out and get workers comp or run out and get, put people on salary. No, that is not for everyone. And that's okay. Like, you scale your business to what you're comfortable with, what works with you and your family, or what your life goals are. I think we knew from the get-go we didn't want to be here forever. Do I love Ohio? And like, I totally appreciate everything that has happened here. Like, I love it and I'm so sad, but this isn't home forever. So, knowing that I need to make sure that we get everything set up so we can continue to grow and have multiple streams of income and really make a mark. And if that means that some months are better than others, that's okay. I think that's the risk of any business. And, I think that if you're willing to take that risk, that's great. But if you're not, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, taxes suck, like, but they're needed, like everyone feels like that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Well, very cool. This was such a nice interview. I feel like I was so surprised at the
I
direction
know.
that it
I'm
went.
sorry. I should have said
No,
something.
no, I
And
think
I know
that's
it's kind of
great.
all over the place, but
No,
I mean,
that's what everyone needs to hear. And I think
yeah,
a follow-up would be very cool to catch up with you when you're back in
yeah,
Texas, just to kind of
I
see
would
like
love that.
what happened in Cleveland and how's it going in
Yes.
Texas, and that would be
Yeah,
very cool.
I would love that. And people too, I just want to make sure people know they can always reach out and ask questions, because some of this is uncharted territory. There's so much that we've had to learn, with the workman's comp, with the insurance, with the salary, all of these things that it's
Well,
like,
just I've never even heard of anyone having a creative director. Like that is so
yeah,
fascinating to
I
me. I feel like
know.
we could
And
keep
she's
talking forever.
amazing. Yeah, she's awesome. And I think it's just really cool because we've been super creative together, and being able to
Mhm.
have someone that is super creative on your team that can kind of think outside the box with you, but reel you back in at the same time in certain scenarios has been super helpful. But yeah, if anybody ever has questions about anything as far as any of the scope and the scale of your business, like, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. And I'm an open book, and I want to share this knowledge and help other people. So we're
So where
always,
should people reach out to you? Is it Poppin Cleveland or
yes, it's
Poppin?
just at Poppin Cleveland, or you can reach out to Poppin Texas too. Either
Very
or.
cool.
Well, I'll be on either. So
We
yeah,
can follow along. Well, great. Well, I will. We'll chat with you after we stop recording and figure out
perfect.
when we can catch up because I think that'll be a very cool
Yes,
interview.
I would love that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and
Thank
for being
you,
on this
Sarah.
episode. This was so
Oh, thanks
fun.
thanks for the opportunity and the platform to do so. I'm sorry I bounced all over the place.
Nah, that's normal. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks for joining me in this week's episode. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light in a few minutes or less. If you wish there were more episodes, you are in luck. You can join us in our Patreon group for our monthly book club. I record weekly episodes guiding you through a different self-development book each month. For as little as $3 a month, you can join more than 50 other balloon business owners in our private group. Click the link in the show notes to join us. So many of you have reached out and told me how the podcast has changed your business, and I love hearing those stories. But you might be ready to take things to the next level. If that's you, you should check out the laser-focused solopreneur course where I walk you through more than 2 hours of video content showing exactly how I run my business as a solopreneur. I run a 6-figure balloon business, I work a full-time job, I have a toddler, and I produce this podcast weekly. And it's not because I'm more efficient than anybody else, it's just because I apply this laser-focused framework to every decision that I make. If you're struggling with work-life balance, figuring out how to grow your business in a manageable way, and feeling like there just aren't enough hours in the day, this course is for you. Check it out using the link in the show notes.